In one of our latest videos, we talked about bug out bags, 72-hour kits. And we got this comment. It says, could someone please give me a realistic scenario where one would leave their home and head for the wilderness? I'm not seeing why I would be safer there. Now, I do think this is a good question. The reality is most times when there's some sort of emergency, if it's safe to stay home, we should. That's because home is where we have the most resources. It's where we have shelter. It's where we tend to have community as well. And those are all things that are going to help keep us safer. But as we're seeing literally right now, there are definitely situations where leaving your home is the right thing to do. And where using a 72-hour kit in a bag is going to be the right call. So here's a good rule of thumb. I do not tend to be somebody who just takes authorities at their word. Somebody tells me I got to do something, I'm going to pause and think about it. But if the authorities are telling you, you should evacuate your home if you live in this area, I tend to listen. And the reason for that is they often have knowledge about weather patterns or whatever it is that's going on, the emergency that's happening, more knowledge than I do. And they're usually trying to give us enough forewarning to be able to get out. Right now, we're still recovering from Hurricane Helene. Now, when I say we, I'm talking about we as a society. Many friends of mine are impacted severely by this. In fact, the town that I lived in some years ago, in Western Virginia, far west, like in the Appalachian Mountains, is super flooded right now. You can see this is literally a location where I worked, and their wastewater treatment plant and part of the plant is partially underwater. We've got bridges that are washed out and completely covered. We have roadways that are covered and roads that are destroyed. And in these situations, not only do we have those roads destroyed, but we also have homes. A lot of homes, RVs and trailer homes and other small homes that are right there near the river. And the river level in that county has risen to the second highest level ever in recorded history, to the point that we have homes that are completely underwater. So, like we said in the beginning, if you're in a situation where there's an emergency and it's safe to stay home, stay home. And in fact, getting home with all of your people is probably the first thing in most situations that you should do. But once you're home, you need to evaluate the situation and determine what to do next. If staying home isn't safe because, I don't know, maybe there was a stream running in front of your house that is now turned into a river and is threatening to knock the house down. Or, maybe your house is filled up with water and everybody's wading all the way up to their chest in water, waiting to see what happens. Or worse, your house has literally been picked up by the flood and is being washed down the street. Whatever type of situation like this, staying home is just not an option. So as we quickly evaluate what we need to do, we want to be able to quickly take what we need and go if that needs to happen. That's where the 72-hour kit is critical. The American Red Cross has recommended that we all have at least 3 days worth of supplies to be able to live on so that there's time for rescuers to get to you and help you. Aid workers, whatever it is that we're waiting for. It's been a week now. As of the time of recording this video, it's been a week since Hurricane Helene just devastated a bunch of towns that were not expecting it. Still, there are tons of people, whole communities, that haven't even been accessed yet, let alone are getting resources. What are these people supposed to do? If they're not prepared, they're probably just completely out of luck. I saw numerous posts on social media from people who say, hey, I have family and they're stuck over there because the bridge is washed out and nobody can get to them. We need air support, but we called FEMA, we called the National Guard, and nobody's available. They can't get over here to help us. But we have people that literally need an airlift to be able to get to a safe place. It's not safe and it's not okay to not be prepared. So again, we make that decision, we need to leave. What are we gonna do? We're gonna grab our bag. And why is it great that it's a bag that's already ready to go? What happens if I have to spend the next 20 to 30 minutes gathering up all of my supplies to put in that bag? Well, first of all, I may be too late to get out. But second of all, let's say I've got plenty of time and I could do that. Well, in the time you spend 30 minutes packing a bag, my bag's in the car and I was able to pack extra supplies, extra food, extra clothes, warm clothes, blankets, whatever I needed to help my family stay dry and safe, specific things that would help me in the particular emergency situation. Because the foundational emergency supplies We're already in the bag, ready to go. But now, we're leaving the house, we throw everything in the car, we're driving down the road, and the one main road out of town is completely washed out. Now what? Well, you could get stuck there and realize, shoot, everything that I need to survive is spread out in the trunk of my car. I can't carry it with me. What do? You end up paralyzed, and then your car gets washed away in the flood. This has happened. This kind of thing happened in Maui with the fire. Fire coming and people thinking, I don't want to leave this stuff in my car. I need it all. While other people got out of the car and got to safety literally in the water. You don't want to be that person that's paralyzed in fear because you have to leave your stuff behind. What do? You open up the trunk, you grab your bag, your 72-hour kit, you leave the other stuff because the 72-hour kit has everything you truly need for the next 3 days, and you and your family hit the road. And it could be that, ideally we're not going to head to the wilderness, right? Ideally we're going to get to a safe place, maybe in the next town over. We're going to stay at a nice hotel. But if your whole town's evacuating, good luck finding a room. But for some of these people who were stuck because of bridges and roads and highways that were out, what are they supposed to do? In this situation, get to high ground and wait for the water to recede. With my 72-hour kits, I could camp with my family, have all the food and other supplies that I need to be able to get by for a few days before we'd even start to feel hunger. And I'd have been just fine in that situation. Yet so many others are not fine in that situation and are waiting and depending on rescuers to arrive. So the point here is, you don't want to be that family that got to that spot on the road and their car got washed away. You also don't want to be that family who had to leave everything behind because you could only carry a few items in your arms. You don't want to be heading up for high ground and realizing that now you're just going to get soaked all the way through and your kids are going to get sick because they're going to be cold all night long. You'd rather be that family that has everything you need to be able to keep yourself and your stuff dry and have everything that you need to be okay for the next 3 days. That is my answer to this question. What's a realistic scenario? It's literally the scenario that is currently happening to thousands of people in the eastern United States and has happened numerous times before in other places with different types of emergencies. It's something we want to be prepared for. And you can't wait until the emergency is coming to start putting this stuff together. By then, it's too late. One little thing I want to point out. In this video here from, again, the town that I lived in, one of the things that stood out to me was how many RVs, trailers that could have been attached to trucks, but also literal RVs that can drive themselves that got left behind and are now flooded under the water. How fast did that water level rise to be at the point where somebody had to leave behind their expensive RV and couldn't just drive it away? That's how much time you have. It's not time to pack. It's time to grab the bag and go.